They weren't the first to do this. It was Blake Lively, it was Ryan Reynolds, this was their strategy, and now they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle, but guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle.
Ryan Reynolds reacted strongly after being criticized by Fox News for firing a makeup artist, sparking debate over his actions. Some have drawn comparisons to Blake Lively, accusing him of being egotistical and controlling.
Somebody revealed a source that says he had quite an experience demanding his makeup artist show up or get fired. I'll share that story for you.
They called out his behavior and held him accountable, arguing that he had no right to fire someone simply due to his own temper issues.
That's so gross and weird and manipulative, even if it's true. It's so... this movie somehow was a magnet for awful people.
Ryan Reynolds, the so-called Hollywood funny guy, was heavily criticized by Fox News. It turns out he's not the lovable, sarcastic Deadpool goofball he portrays. Instead, critics argue he's a power-hungry, insecure control freak who acts like he owns Hollywood.
Ryan Reynolds, by all accounts, seems like a great guy. He is acting. By all accounts, he is a total pain in the...
And if you think that's an exaggeration, let's talk about the time he threw a massive tantrum and tried to ruin a makeup artist's career, just because they weren't available for a reshoot. Yep, a full-blown Hollywood dictator meltdown over some foundation and powder.
He's one of those guys, so they are absolute bullies.
This whole mess came to light on Fox News' Kennedy Saves the World podcast, where Studio Insider revealed that during the filming of Deadpool 2, Ryan's personal makeup artist wasn't available, because they were out of the country, like any normal professional with other commitments.
Ryan Reynolds on the Enneagram is a psycho. That's what he is. He's just a psycho. His number is psycho.
But instead of simply hiring another makeup artist, because, let's be real, they aren't some rare mythical creatures, Ryan completely lost it. He reportedly told the artist, "If you don't come back, you will never work in Hollywood again."
Ryan Reynolds had to do some reshoots for the movie. His makeup artist was out of the country working. Ryan Reynolds threatened to fire the makeup artist off the rest of the film and the reshoots they had to do, and also said, "If you don't come back and do my makeup for these reshoots, you will never work in Hollywood again."
Oh, I'm sorry. Since when is he a studio executive? Is he running 20th Century Fox now? Who gave this man the power to blacklist someone from an entire industry over a scheduling issue? The funniest part? Fox executives were reportedly frustrated but had no choice but to comply because Reynolds had already taken full control of the movie. He was throwing career-ending threats over a bit of powder and contouring. Imagine the level of ego and narcissism that takes. And honestly, we shouldn't even be surprised, because this is exactly how Ryan Reynolds operates.
Who he was beforehand, everyone knows who he is now. If he is a smart sociopath, he'll work that to his advantage.
This guy has built his career on acting like the chill, easygoing, funny dude. But behind the scenes, he turns into a full-blown Hollywood tyrant. Just look at what happened with the Deadpool franchise itself. The original Deadpool was directed by Tim Miller, the man who helped bring the entire vision to life. But guess what? Tim didn't make it to Deadpool 2. Why? Because Ryan Reynolds wanted complete control over the entire project.
Ryan used his nice pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine to mock Justin Baldoni.
Miller later admitted, "Ryan wanted full control, and I wasn't willing to fight every single decision." Translation? Reynolds turned into an overgrown toddler who refused to compromise and pushed an actual director out of his own movie.
Blake Lively, her brand, Ryan Reynolds' brand, have totally been tarnished by this because the world now sees them for who they are. They cannot act their way out of this.
And let's not forget how he treats his co-stars. If you think Ryan Reynolds only bullies makeup artists and directors, think again. He actively sidelines and humiliates actors if they dare to challenge him. Case in point, Morena Baccarin, Deadpool's lead actress. She went from playing Wade Wilson's entire love interest in the first movie to being reduced to an afterthought in Deadpool 2. Why? Because she reportedly had a disagreement with Reynolds on set, and let's just say, he does not handle disagreements well. Rather than dealing with it professionally, he made sure Morena was iced out. She was completely excluded from press events, left out of promotional tours, and erased from all premiere group photos. If you looked at the red carpet events, you'd think she wasn't even in the movie. But this is what power-drunk Ryan Reynolds does. He picks fights and then erases anyone who gets in his way. And it's not just the Deadpool cast. TJ Miller, who played Weasel in the franchise, also spoke out, revealing that Reynolds was genuinely mean to him on set, not in a joking way, but in a way that felt straight up rude. This man is a comedian, and even he couldn't pretend Reynolds' behavior was funny. He flat out admitted, "He was weirdly mean to me. Not as a joke. Just genuinely rude." Interview 11. Imagine being so unbearable that even comedians think you've crossed the line. Reynolds allegedly treated TJ Miller like garbage on set, belittling him in front of the crew and constantly reminding him that he was just a side character, not the star.
Deadpool, where he said, let's do one more take. And everyone was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me. But to me.
Cathartic.
As if I'm Weasley.
And what's wild is that Ryan isn't even subtle about his control issues. They've been exposed time and time again, even beyond Deadpool. Take Rebecca Ferguson, for example. She once revealed that she had a terrible experience with an insecure, angry actor while filming a movie. Now, she never named names, but let's connect the dots real quick. The movie, Life, 2017. Her co-stars? Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal. And since Jake is still out here minding his business, all eyes are on Ryan as the angry little man she had to deal with.
So he was like, what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star. But you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
Ferguson said she was so uncomfortable on set that she refused to act directly with this person anymore. Instead, she straight up demanded to perform scenes while looking at a tennis ball rather than interacting with them. Imagine being so insufferable that your own co-star refuses to even acknowledge your existence on camera. That's a whole new level of toxic. But it gets worse. After speaking out, Rebecca reportedly received calls from colleagues warning her that she had gone too far.
Did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star, and this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and comfortable.
Gone too far? All she did was tell the truth about a toxic work environment, yet suddenly, people acted like she had committed treason. This is exactly how Hollywood protects the worst people. They silence those who speak out and keep enabling powerful actors like Ryan Reynolds because they don't want to rock the boat. Meanwhile, Ryan gets to keep throwing tantrums and treating people like garbage without facing any real consequences.
I think I was so vulnerable and comfortable that I got screamed at. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back.
And let's not ignore what happened with Jake Gyllenhaal. He and Ryan were once super close, doing interviews together, making jokes, total Hollywood besties, right? Well, not anymore. When asked about Reynolds recently, Jake completely shut down. He refused to say a single word and looked visibly irritated. The interviewer pushed for an answer, and Jake coldly replied, "I have nothing to say about him." That's not normal friend behavior. That's someone who is done with your nonsense.
I remember the next day I walked on and I said, "You get off my set." It's the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. Yes. And I looked at this person and I said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to."
And honestly, who can blame him? It's becoming painfully obvious that Ryan Reynolds isn't the quirky, funny, lovable guy he pretends to be. He's just another power-obsessed Hollywood narcissist. One with zero patience, zero humility, and an ego so massive that no one is allowed to challenge it.
Words for Ryan, seeing as the next time we talk to him, he will be seeing that.
I have nothing to say to him.
Every single person who has worked with him and dared to speak up has described him the same way: controlling, rude, and insecure. From makeup artists to co-stars, directors, and even his own ex-wives, the pattern is undeniable. Ryan Reynolds isn't the nice guy of Hollywood. He's just a self-absorbed, power-hungry bully who has finally been exposed.
You have an ongoing feud with Ryan.
Who?
You know that guy. What's it gonna take for him to actually be BFFs with you?
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds were once Hollywood's favorite bromance, laughing on talk shows, cracking inside jokes, acting like they were two peas in a pod. But then Life, 2017, happened, and suddenly, Gyllenhaal wanted nothing to do with him. And when I say nothing, I mean zero interaction, zero acknowledgement, and zero interest in even pretending they were ever friends. That level of disgust doesn't just happen over a minor disagreement. Something major must have gone down between them.
Encountered a rude celebrity once. We don't want to say who.
Jake Gyllenhaal's reaction when asked about Ryan Reynolds was pure ice-cold rejection. His face dropped, his energy shifted, and he flatly said, "I have nothing to say about him." No fake Hollywood friendliness. No jokes. Just straight-up dismissal. And let's be real, Gyllenhaal isn't some drama-loving celebrity. This is the same guy who stayed silent when Taylor Swift dragged him for 10 whole minutes in a song. But with Ryan, he couldn't even fake a polite response. The rumors all say the same thing. Reynolds is unbearable, jealous, and toxic. And Gyllenhaal? He finally saw through the fake nice guy act.
It's pretty obvious that he's not joking. about not being friends with Ryan Reynolds.
And if there's one thing Ryan Reynolds hates more than not being the center of attention, it's being called out for being unfunny. Let's get something straight. His entire career is built on sarcasm. But sarcasm isn't a personality, and it sure as hell isn't actual humor. This man isn't some comedic genius. He's just a guy who figured out that if he says something in a deadpan voice and smirks, people will assume he's funny. But guess what? Plenty of people who've worked with him aren't buying it anymore.
Now you see that Jake Gyllenhaal has also unfollowed Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and Blake Lively. But apparently he didn't unfollow them until they had already unfollowed him.
TJ Miller, who actually knows what funny is, exposed Reynolds for what he really is. He didn't say, "Oh, Ryan's just a fun-loving prankster," or "he jokes too much." No. He straight up said that Ryan Reynolds doesn't joke to be funny, he jokes to belittle people. That's not comedy. That's just being a condescending jackass.
I'm really bad at
keeping a straight face around TJ Miller. Everyone knows that on our set. We lost days to me. Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. Scarlett Johansson, his own ex-wife, basically called him out for being the exact same way in their relationship. She described him as passive-aggressively jealous, which is just a polite way of saying insecure, controlling, and unbearable. And let's be real, he went from being married to Scarlett Johansson to immediately jumping into a relationship with Blake Lively. It doesn't take a genius to see that his fragile little ego couldn't handle being with a woman whose career was skyrocketing while his was going nowhere.
So he was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star. But you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
And let's talk about the fact that Quentin Tarantino, one of the most respected filmmakers in the industry, absolutely torched Ryan Reynolds and his Netflix cash grabs. In an interview, Tarantino didn't just lightly shade Reynolds, he completely dismissed his entire career. Ryan Reynolds has made $50 million on this movie and $50 million on that movie. I don't even know what those movies are. Have you seen them? Translation: Ryan is making trash movies that no one actually cares about.
Strangers describe me as
extremely disloyal.
And just when you thought that was the biggest insult, Gerard Butler came through with a knockout punch. When asked about Ryan Reynolds' movie Free Guy, Butler didn't even pretend to know what it was. He straight up said, "I don't know what that is. I don't watch his movies." Imagine being in Hollywood for decades, promoting yourself non-stop, only for major actors to openly admit they don't even acknowledge your work. If that's not humiliating, I don't know what is.
And then I think I don't know. I mean, would I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him
that
again.
much vitriol.
And you know what? It's not just actors calling him out, it's directors too. The legendary Chris Columbus, the guy who gave us Home Alone and Harry Potter, publicly shredded Reynolds for trying to ruin a classic movie. Ryan thought it would be a great idea to make a stoner version of Home Alone called Stoned Alone. Yes, that was actually a thing he pitched. Chris Columbus, a man who actually respects film, shut it down immediately. He called it an insult to cinema and told Reynolds to leave classic films alone. And that's exactly why so many Hollywood actors and filmmakers have stopped acknowledging him altogether. When's the last time you saw a respected director say they wanted to work with Ryan Reynolds? When's the last time you saw a major actor, who wasn't contractual forced, publicly praise him? You don't. Because most of Hollywood has already figured out what the rest of the world is just now starting to realize. Ryan Reynolds is an insecure, ego-driven nightmare who burns bridges everywhere he goes.
Is Ryan doing this? And the other weird thing is, like, maybe he got, I think he's kind of an insecure dude.
At this point, Ryan Reynolds isn't just losing friends in Hollywood, he's losing the goodwill of the public. And when the only people left defending you are paid PR firms and die-hard fanboys, you know your fake Hollywood empire is finally starting to collapse. Scarlett Johansson really tried to warn everyone, but nobody listened. She came out and said it plain and simple. Ryan Reynolds is a jealous, insecure control freak. And if you know anything about Scarlett, you know she's not one for unnecessary drama. But when she said, when someone is passive-aggressively jealous, it shows insecurity, she wasn't just making some generic statement. She was talking about Ryan.
The thing about myself I've learned to love is...
The thing about myself that I've learned to love is insecurity. That's a real answer. Yeah, insecurity. Yeah.